Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
You told a lot of lies about achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape. Trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis. It's 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Dunn, and with me today, we're getting a little bit more back to the roots of this show. Do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do, and also your fun name?
Sure.
Hi, Gabe. We are Rachel and
Jamie,
and we have a podcast called Debt Heads.
It's perfect, like the Bad with Money podcast network. I feel like we should just join forces and be
absolutely.
the Bad with Money collective or something. Same energy, same approach. Yeah, we have been working on this narrative podcast for a couple of years that started out of a revelation I had about my finances and how bad I was with money. So that's where it started. And then it evolved into a bigger story about the economy and the world and how, I don't know if we can curse on here, but fucked up everything is. And yeah, that's where it started and where it is now.
Yeah.
How did you join?
Jamie started TikToking about debt, and that's sort of what got us into this position where people were paying attention to the topic. And we were already just, writing partners, and I was the first person that Jamie confided in about her debt. And basically the conversation started there where I was like, listen, there's some things that you need to do for your mental health, but this is not a you problem. Like this is a bigger problem. And so when Jamie started to kind of, because she's a natural thespian.
Theater kids. It's a kind way to say it.
Yeah. I'm behind the camera. She's in front of the camera. And so she immediately after she told me, told everyone on TikTok. And that's sort of our first episode is all about that journey. But basically somebody said, oh, you should do a podcast.
A personal like a get out of debt journey podcast.
Yeah. And she came in one day and I was like, what do you think about that? And I was like, absolutely not. The world has far too many of these already.
And also like no one should be taking advice from you or us. Yeah.
Yeah. But also my feeling at the time and still stands obviously is that there is no like getting better with money. We cannot get better at money when the whole system is meant to be exploiting people with no money. But we can make a podcast about that. And so that's when we kind of started. And I think our original plan was to make a narrative, as anyone who's tried to make audio might know. Making a narrative podcast with zero funding and, no backers is really, really hard. So we did that very, very slowly. It was last year that we launched our pilot episode and then kind of we're like, all right, we did it. We put it out into the world. Like, let's hope, let's see if we can keep going. And so the way that unfolded was very slowly. Every once in a while, we would post another one. So last year we published 5 episodes.
And like a very strange and random schedule.
No schedule.
And we're very, very grateful to all the people who listened to the episodes because what the fuck was that? We had to do it on nights and weekends. We had to continue having other work. Rachel has 2 kids. This was very much a passion project that turned into something that people actually started paying attention to that seemed to like really hit a nerve with people. Obviously, I keep saying this, but like, unfortunately, the situation has gotten so dire that like, it's actually really good for this it's a very, rich pool from which to pull stories about this topic, unfortunately.
We always had a plan for what the narrative arc was going to be, and that has still not been completed. So,
but it is about to be. We're on the brink of doing that, which is really exciting. So we didn't mean to become podcasters, certainly not, but we do like to tell stories together, and we like to tell stories in a way that feels like both entertaining and hopefully like a little radicalizing and fun. And so that's how we got here.
Jamie's a writer, worked at HuffPost for years. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Those two skills kind of came together. We're both writers and we work together and we have the same sense of humor. So we decided to really just join forces. And that's what allowed us to kind of make this sort of narrative, trying to kind of tap into our love of NPR, like long form documentary storytelling. It just takes time.
Interesting. Especially, as I'm sure you know, something that's critical of the economy is a hard sell for banks.
Any funders.
Not that we want banks to fund us, but, money in general.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had that experience with getting sponsors in the beginning, and a lot of times it would be JP Morgan saying, why don't you push this JP Morgan thing? Or it's kind of, like counterproductive to do ads. You want to do ads on the show that have to do with finances because that's who reaches out. But then I was like, I'm never going to do ads that are like, hey, join this bank.
Exactly. It's a conundrum for sure.
So how did it go on TikTok with you when you came clean?
It was amazing for a very short amount of time. And it was amazing. And it continues to be amazing because it like started me on a very, like on a huge path that was like a very different way of life that I had been living up until that point, like a fear-based, shame-based existence pretty much. And it led to so much more connection and so much more actual like present connection with the people who were already in my life and with so many other people who started reaching out as I was doing this storytelling. In the beginning, it was just me trying to hold myself accountable. And I had this number that I realized was not even the right number. Like I told people I had $18,000 or $15,000. And I had like completely forgotten about like another card that I just hadn't seen in a while, I guess. It started out like right before I did it, I was terrified. Immediately, it was really comforting and like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And then as things do, as they start to get spread around a little bit more, it was still a majority like really rewarding and connective. But, people really have strong feelings about people who are so-called, failing at personal finance. And so I'm no stranger to trolls. I've been writing about like my body and dating and addiction. Like I had written about everything except money at that point. And it was like a specific kind of troll that came out of the woodwork. And we still get them. I mean, we get people like leaving weird, sanctimonious reviews that are like, you are bad people because you live in the world. But I got people that were like, why would you get your nails done, you stupid idiot? Because I have like so little joy. Yeah, I got yelled at once because I washed my car with the wrong kind of brush. I was like trying to save money on a car wash, and people that was like the first video that got 1 million views. And I was like, wow, I must be like really killing it. And then all the comments were like, you're gonna ruin your paint job. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So I guess the short answer is that it's both great and bad. More great. It led us here. It led us to this like new, different way of like living my life and living like closer to my belief system, and also like helping people just start to ask more questions. I think that was always our intention, is we can't do anything if we're not talking about it. So once people realized that there was not an end to that story, like I am not out of debt and I don't know that I ever will be, they were like, peace out. Like I'm like here for the journey, like I'm here for the storybook ending. And I'm telling myself that so I don't think I'm in like a huge flop era on TikTok. I get like 40 views on my videos of my cats now. So
Well, TikTok feeds on you doing people correcting you or doing the wrong thing and seeing that. I could see someone doing that on purpose just to rage bait.
Exactly.
But I had a very similar situation where I wrote about almost everything in my life except money. And then I got less hatred, for those things than you would think of. and I did get hate for it, but I got less hate for those things than for anything I say about money.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is misogyny, because I was a woman at the time. So, you know, the nails thing to me is a misogynistic take.
For sure. Yeah, it's frivolous.
I mean, any sort of, oh, women do this, women do that. And then I was like, how many sneakers do you own? Like, these men are like, oh, no, but those are. And I'm like, no. But so did it matter where the debt came from? I know that's something people judge a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about this like all the time. Like we have these things that are like so-called good debt that's like rewarded, like student loans, mortgage debt. People are locked out of to begin with that like I had access to. Like I'm very privileged that I had all this access to credit, like this high credit limit. Like I had no business having this high of a credit limit as like a journalist making $40,000 a year. I called Chase and was like, please take away some of this limit. I don't want it. Please leave me alone. Yeah, I mean, I think credit card debt is really looked down upon. Yeah. You have a problem and you're just spending money on something that is not like doing anything for you. I mean, I think at this point I call the interest, like a friend of mine calls it like a life tax. Like I can't live without a credit card right now to use for some things in my life, and I have like a much more simple life now. But yeah, I think there's a ton of judgment. There's a ton of judgment either way. I use this example a lot, but you are asked to be, you know, in someone's wedding or to be part of someone's wedding celebration. And now that involves going bankrupt in a lot of ways, like between all of the things you have to do. But it feels weird saying no to, but then now you're in debt and like you shouldn't have gone because you don't have the money to do it. So yeah, plenty of stigma there.
Absolutely.
There's a debt thing of you should never do anything because you have debt. And then in this world, there's also like a fuck it attitude because we're currently in an apocalyptic situation and we have been for a long time. So I still struggle with, right? Like, oh, I did the right thing and I didn't go to my best friend's wedding. Like, do you hear yourself?
For what? Yeah.
No, I mean, I absolutely, it's psychotic like so many things in our culture are. But, you know, it's just debt heads is, I mean, that's the title of our podcast. And I think a lot of people kind of like want to lock in on that idea of like, oh, it's just about debt, right? Like, it's like, you know, you've gotten into debt. Like that's the only bad thing that, you know, but it's really meant to be emblematic of this greater idea of like debt is a relationship, you know, I mean, when we're talking about our economy, we're just talking about how humans are experiencing the resources that we have on planet Earth. Right. And so when we talk about debt, it's like, everything's a give and a take, and debt is a sign of things being either a sharing of resources,
balance,
but usually it's out of balance, but it never is taking into consideration this greater idea that we're all in relation with each other, and any debt, whether they call it good or bad or whatever the sanctimonious people say, you know, it's okay or not okay to have it, whichever one it is, everything about our culture and debt and the economy is exploitative and is preying on people to be a profit for somebody else. So if it weren't that, then we could have a real conversation about it, but it isn't. And there are plenty of other examples of cultures that exist now, but also certainly in the past, that don't put people in that position. And so it's not even really a concept anybody really has to wrap their mind around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even like to kind of like, oh, is you know, mortgage debt good versus like bad?
Yeah.
You know, none of it is good when we're working with a shitty system to begin with. You know?
Right. It's like, and to your point, like talking about retirement, I don't even like, are we even going to be here when I retire? Like, I don't, I'm not like I'm going to spend my life freaking out about retirement. And I don't know what the state of our world or what is going to happen to any of us is going to be until then, you know?
Right.
Well, it's a symptom of a sick society, which I think is really accurate to what you're saying, Rachel, where if we had housing as a right, medicine as a right, these things as a right, there wouldn't be any need for debt. But a big problem that is a symptom of our society being sick in multiple ways is the idea that, well, that's just how it is, and somebody's doing something wrong, and it creates this unnecessary crabs in a bucket situation. That somebody has debt so that you don't. Somebody has, you being people who judge or wealthier people. Somebody has debt, or somebody is unable to survive in our society with their basic needs met, whether that's having a nuclear family or having the safety of owning your home or all of these things maybe wealthier people take for granted. That is with the idea specifically of leaving you behind. I have my resources. If the world goes to shit and we do live long enough, I'll be fine. You don't have a retirement, so it sucks to be you.
Yeah.
It's naturally exploitative.
Absolutely. It's built into the system. And I think that, like you said, the crabs in the bucket metaphor is nice. When people really try to wrap their minds around why they get upset about these things is they imagine this very simplistic version of two humans with one apple. And it's like, how are we going to survive? And it's like, that's not how humans got this far.
It's just made up.
They didn't go, who got the apple? And then, they shared the apple and they figured out how to plant the seeds. It's not, and I think that everybody has that in their imagination because that's what we've been taught.
Right.
That's the extent to which we've imagined how to live. And it's really sad because we are capable of so much imagination. Part of what we really want to drive home with this is that we have to tap into our own capacity for imagination and first realize that the economy is not gravity.
Right. It's not a natural law. Yeah.
And we made it up and we can make up something different. And we should make up something different because at this point we are driving ourselves off of a livable planet the way that it's operating. That's kind of where we're going with this first season.
Spoiler alert.
And when we finally publish it, clearly everything will be fixed.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. Everything's going to be totally fine.
So
at the end of the summer,
just set your clocks to June 25th, and we'll all be fine.
Problem solved.
I can't do everything around here. Deadlines are slipping. I can't just do it all on my own. I need to hire someone. I needed an editor. And I was scrounging. How am I going to find an editor? It was a chaotic mess over here. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. I have personally used Indeed for years. I actually have been hired for 2 jobs off of Indeed. I was able to match my skills with jobs in my area. The only 2 times that I have been hired without any sort of in with the company was through Indeed. So I was pretty stoked to find the people I needed for this podcast and also to know that I could do that on a place where I have been hired. And if you're looking to hire someone, let's say you're the job looking to hire me, you can use Indeed sponsored jobs as a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. That's cuckoo bananas. And so speaking as someone who has been on both sides of the hiring spectrum, Indeed has helped me in real life spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
The people that are least served by the economy defend it with their lives. It's really wild because I think there's a lot of suffering inherent, especially with financial, suffer. You're not supposed to have your nails done. You're not supposed, all these debt. I mean, you see the debt vlogs that you were sort of talking about, not wanting to replicate. Me and my husband, here's our house. We have nothing in the house. Bare bones. We're not going to do anything. We're eating beans for 3 months so that we can get out of debt. And they're rewarded for this sort of Puritan moral purity or whatever it is that doesn't reflect the chaos of the world.
Right.
The way our system is set up, even the most prudent person could fall and hurt themselves, could get cancer. I was attacked in my car and the car got messed up. And after that, the police come, everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm responsible for the car because they hadn't caught the guy. So I said, well, the car, now it's $8,000 repair. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
And the cops were like, don't know. None of that was my fault.
Right.
And I also couldn't have prepared for it. And so I think people they're not taking into account the chaos of living a real life.
No.
When you're set up to survive at the expense of your neighbor, and that's like what the story you've been told your whole life, then when you do a really good job, you're going to hate the people who don't do a really good job.
Right.
And if our value system is all about who can rise to the top of any given pretend made up like race, who makes it to the finish line first, if that's always how people are measuring their version of success, then it cancels out every other valuable aspect of anyone's personality, of anyone's existence. And
which really isn't how we are, like really how I don't want to believe that we are. The propaganda is just so strong, and we've been spoon fed it our whole lives that like you believe that that's true. I mean, even in my darker like back of my mind, I'm like, I need to make money because we need to like exist here. And I'm like, I don't want it. I want to be like, I'm never happier than when like we're just hanging out and doing like really affordable things and being connected to each other and feeling like we have each other's back. And like, I think living in New York and living in apartment buildings and like we live down the block from each other. We've built this kind of commune family unit that feels very supportive. Felt like that, during COVID, like living here and feeling like all of us were sort of pitching in to help each other in any way that you possibly can. That is fucking life. And that piece of it is not represented at all. And like, we never stop to think about why. We never stop to think about like I certainly didn't for many, many years. Like, why do I believe that? Why do I have this belief system? Where did it come from? Is it mine, or is it my mom's, or is it her mom's, or is it like someone we don't even fucking know? Like, I don't know. It's like, you just go, you go. You don't ever stop to like look around.
It's totally understandable. It's totally understandable.
Of course.
Why people feel these resentments, because when you are pushed to the brink, so many people are living in a constant reactive state, feeling like they don't have enough. And then they look and they go, well, you're saying it doesn't matter. Well, I've spent my whole life following the rules, and you're saying the rules don't matter. Like, I totally understand the resentment there. It makes all the sense in the world. And we really hope that like we can talk to people about how, that is a prison that you're living in. And it's like
indoctrinated.
We really need to kind of like loosen that up.
At least ask about it. At least talk about it a little bit. One of my favorite things about this project is that I was this person before, but like it's bringing these concepts to people who might not necessarily be thinking about them at all. It's not judgmental. It's nothing to do with shaming, and it's not like snarky. We have a thing on our board that's like always curiosity, never snark, because like we just want to be curious people, bringing those concepts to people in a way that they start asking themselves in their communities questions that they might not have thought of.
Well, I paid my student debt. Why can't you pay yours? Maybe nobody had to.
I hate that too.
I'm sorry that you suffered, but it makes me think of, well, I had smallpox, so why don't you have smallpox? Well, because we cured it, babe. Mostly.
Yeah, exactly.
Mostly. Yeah.
RFK is bringing it back, but...
Yeah. Things are coming back, and, everything is circular. Things come back in fashion.
Sure, yeah.
Smallpox are back in fashion.
Exactly.
Spread the word, literally.
I think, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm a millennial, squarely, elder millennial. And we were taught very much to be independent, rely on yourself, be successful on your own. And it's been very interesting as I've gotten older, I think also as I've gotten more involved in mutual aid and more involved, as the world has gotten worse, my group of friends, we are way more able to ask each other for help. And it's hard. It's really, really hard emotionally, at least for me to do. We said, what if we made like a pot of money, and then if somebody needed to pay rent, they could take it from there. If somebody needed something, they could take it. I mean, we would talk about it, but then they could take it from there. I've grown up seeing, don't ever give your friends money. Don't ever, help this person this way because
mix it
it'll
up,
cause
yeah.
a problem. Don't ever. So then what? We're just in this group of friends and one person is suffering and the other person has enough to help? That's
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. And so then there was this, at least for me, this need to get over, one, the shame, and two, the, oh, no. No, please don't. Like, I needed an MRI that I couldn't afford. A friend of mine said, well, I can cover it. And I was like, no. Like, so aghast. Which did lead me to try to find a way to do it without their help, because I was so moved by their offer that I was like, no, now I'm going to do tons of work to try to figure out how to not take their money. But also it wouldn't have affected their financial situation in any way for me to take it. But you just have to get rid of the shame, because why, if someone else, if it won't affect them and they're offering and somebody needs help, it's like, why am I sitting on assets that someone else could use?
We have made this a personal, like a thing that we have to sort of reckon with personally, as opposed to setting up a society in which everyone does have their needs met.
Right.
And then once everyone has their needs met, you can have a conversation about who's selfish and who's generous and whatever. That doesn't need to be the center of the conversation, which is how it's often, presented initially. And I think that so many people just really are locked into this. Obviously, we're taught it's the nuclear family, as you mentioned. That's what our parents,
me, yeah.
They benefited from the closest thing we've ever had to a social safety net in this country. And at the same time, we're building out, these nuclear families and getting away from any sort of sense of cultural, relationship with our communities. So that's like course drilled into the millennials. Yeah. So we think, oh God, it's all about my personal, I have to make a decision about like my personal responsibility, my personal success, my personal failures. And all of that would be moot if everyone's needs were met.
Yeah.
If we had basic income, if we had basic medical care, and if we had basic housing and food assistance, everybody would then be able to have a regular conversation about now what do we do?
We have to earn our lives, earn a living,
Earn a living.
Yeah. It's such a wild sentence. But I was going to say, I do think it extends. I'm also an elder millennial, but I think it does extend to a lot of people in our culture and not just about money. My grandmother is 94 years old and my mom is her caregiver, and she was really needed help and she was not asking for it. And she wasn't asking her friends. She wasn't looking into options that she had that were not her friends. And it was I'm now the person who I stepped in eventually and was you need help and we need to figure this out together. Again, it's just so indicative of how drilled in this messaging is for people that this is your fight alone. And it's really it's so damaging in so many ways.
Even the trad wife situation is fascinating because you want this nuclear family, and I think right-wing Heritage Foundation, whatever, you want this nuclear family, heterosexual nuclear family. You want the wife to stay at home, and you want the husband to work, and you want them to not rely on other people or social safety nets or need anything like that, but they should have many kids. And it's sort of what is being sold, which again, I'm always these women have jobs. Their jobs are making videos, but
very lucrative jobs. Yeah.
We're sold this idea that is not achievable. And that's, to me, seems like the new girl boss type. And it all culminates in being alone and working at stuff alone and making your household alone and being alone all day with your kids. And it's isolating you into maybe a situation that wouldn't be good for you. The idea of my pal Paulette Parrich's fuck you money or fuck off money, fuck off fund. Yeah. Where it's how do you get out of a bad job, an abusive relationship? And so it's modeled, at least right now, by Turning Point, by Heritage Foundation, all this stuff, in a situation that keeps women trapped.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's on purpose.
We're living at the height, peak irony, right? Everything is a absolute contradiction. I try not to think about the Heritage Foundation or America First, any of these people. I really try to not think about them. Yeah. But from a very basic bird's eye view, I look at it and go, wait, aren't you guys Christians? Don't you know a church is a place where everybody shares childcare so that people can worship together?
That's the kind of church I would go to. Yeah.
It's there's
can't
so
even
many
have
layers.
the conversation. It's so beyond. None of it makes sense at all. If you try to think about it in like any kind of rational way, you just go crazy because it's like, of course this doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's people like cozying up to people who like don't have their best interests at heart. They're not thinking at all about what would happen if these same people suddenly decided that actually, no, we don't agree with you anymore. And now we're actually going to kill you and we're actively harming you.
I mean, there is active harm there, but I would argue that the real tragedy here when we talk about these lunatics, sorry if that's too judgmental, the real tragedy to me is that we're overlooking the like more treacherous, ingrained ironies of our economy, which are just everywhere. Everything makes no sense, you know, but we aren't even looking at those things.
Churches are socialist. They have funds for the poor. Yeah. There's shared childcare, as you were saying. I mean, I grew up in a synagogue. There was child care for every event. There was food available. There was all of this religious stuff is meant to pick up the slack of society. And then if we had the government doing that, or if we had a better system, that's what drives me nuts is they don't want to be taxed. This is like my problem with Warren Buffett is he doesn't want taxes because he wants to donate his money where he wants it to. And that's not your decision.
No.
The reason they don't want to be taxed, billionaires and rich people, one of the reasons is because they want to give their money to only causes that they believe in, and they don't want to give their money to they don't want to give their money to Black people. They don't want to give their money to anyone who's dealing with poverty. They don't want to give their money, like they want to give their money to organizations that will only help white Christians. And if they're taxed, they don't have any say over where that money goes.
It's like us getting taxed. We don't have what are we fucking paying for with our taxes? Because it's
an ideal government.
Sure.
No, absolutely. But I mean, that's just a desire for control. That's not a desire for generosity. That's a desire for control and making the world the way you want it to be made. And of course, it's going to like remove entire groups of people because that's one person making a decision. And that's not a democracy. We don't live in a democracy.
One of the many reasons there should not be billionaires.
We're having all this stuff in Los Angeles now with the unhoused population because we have LA 28 coming up, the Olympics, and they're doing a lot to get rid of homeless people.
They're
In
disappearing.
their minds, whether it's, we're putting them in housing, and I'm doing quotes, or disappearing them, or saying, well, maybe there's facilities and then just sort of reinventing the mental institution or the asylum. But it's kind of interesting because I think more and more people are going to become homeless after the pandemic where people were evicted and more people became homeless. And then I think these people who think they are immune to that situation will become homeless and they won't understand the problems and the reason for the urgency about getting these people housing and not just dumping them in the desert somewhere because it will be them. But before it is them, they're going to say, that's someone else because it's too scary to think that it could be me.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah,
we have actually a whole episode that we're revolving around the work of an anthropologist named Brian Goldstone out of Atlanta. And he wrote a book that actually won the Pulitzer for documentary writing last year. But his whole reveal is that most people who are unhoused are working people. These are people who are not getting paid enough money to live in a house.
And how lucrative that is.
It's very, it's just, there's so many systems that are preying on that precarity that people are experiencing. I'm not going to speak for his research, but it was really illuminating to us. And so much of our reality that we sort of have assumed has always been the case has really shifted at the beginning of our generation. So we have grown up thinking this is the way it is. You know, people are in debt and people are homeless, and that's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's always will be. And these are very much results of policy decisions and increasingly financialized economy, which is all of these guys, Warren Buffett, all of these guys are making their money on other people's precarity. That is just the way they make their money. We're still like trafficking on this idea that people are bootstrapping their way to success.
Right.
It is exploitation. There is no way to be rich without exploiting other people. If we keep being like, oh yeah, those people are over there because they're not working hard. Yeah, you're exactly right, Gabe.
People feel that there's so much more opportunity for them to get rich than it would be to be like in a downward situation. They're so much closer to that scenario than they are to ever reaching this like level of wealth that is absurd.
And I think it really gets to the heart of, again, like just like we need to invoke our imagination as to like, and redefine these terms. It's like, what is success? You know, if you redefine your success as not being your personal wealth accumulation and you start looking at it as all these other things, then you won't try to separate yourself from these so-called, you know, failures, people who are failing. If we're all reaching that very impossible goal, that's the goal that's always been set out as like the pinnacle of success. And if everyone just realized that like the majority of us are never going to reach that, then we could turn it around.
Find some radical acceptance in that and like move forward.
And people could be honest with each other about what they have, whether yes or no, and then share. It's so interesting. Even in this group that I am friends with, that we do a lot of mutual aid and activism with each other, I made a spreadsheet and I was like, please put in the spreadsheet, it's a new age, like we have to. And they agreed, and then they never did it. But I made a spreadsheet that said, I need you to put what you have in your assets, what money you have, and what things you own. Do you own a chainsaw? Do you own, you know, some medicine like that? You're like, wow, I bought 5 cases of Pepto-Bismol. I don't know why I did that. You know, what do you have? And I kept saying, guys, you need to put the stuff in the spreadsheet. You need to put your money in the spreadsheet, whatever. And nobody wanted to. And I think some of them, because they have debt, but I was a bit like, do you think I don't know you have debt? What do you think is getting exposed here? Like, I don't know. It was really hard. Even these very socialist left-wing people, it was extremely hard for them to add to my spreadsheet.
Maybe they just hate spreadsheets. That's how I feel.
I mean, how annoying am I? That I was like, please enter the spreadsheet.
We live unfortunately, in Google Drive to do this project, and we make a lot of spreadsheets and documents.
And then we forget about them.
And then we forget about them completely. And then we're like, oh, I actually wrote this in an email draft 3 years ago. So that's how we operate.
I tried to, even in a conversation with even the most leftist people, one of them has a lot of debt and he just repeats himself over and over again. I made so many mistakes. I fucked up. I did this. I can't believe I did this. And my big thing with him is, again, maybe I'm just an autistic person with spreadsheets, but I was like, I don't care what happened in the past. You keep repeating yourself about how you messed up, okay, whatever, it happened. We're done. Now all we can do is think about what you need to do now, because everyone in this chat has made mistakes. I bought a house with someone I was engaged to. We split up. They took the house.
Yeah, of course. It's life.
I said, I'm not interested in you particularly beating yourself up because of your backstory. You can share it if you want to, but if you're not going to say what you're going to do moving forward, or not even in this individualistic way, but all of us here are offering to help you. I said, put your thing in the spreadsheet. Yeah. I said, you know, everyone here can contribute at least a little bit to helping you. And he's not out of the cycle yet. But I have to stop being judgmental, because it took me, I started this show in 2016 and it took me forever, and I'm trying to speed run him through it because I don't want to hear it anymore.
Of course, of course. That totally makes sense. I mean, Rachel came to a lot of these revelations, I think, later than Rachel. She's very patient with me as I've gone through it.
It's hard not to.
We're all in a state of flux at all times. So everything's always changing. And I think that like the one thing we really just need to take from our past is like what behaviors are still operating that are detrimental to me, and how can I reframe them, you know, to not be about like beating myself up, like you're saying, but go, what information is that giving me? And then yes.
And like, what are my values and beliefs? And like, how is my behavior aligned or not aligned with those behaviors and beliefs?
And then accept help. I went to Latin America for a while, and my apartment was empty. And my friend didn't have a place to live. And I said, oh, just live at my apartment. So many people said, well, are you charging him rent? No. He's homeless. Why?
What are you talking about?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And I went somewhere where the exchange rate was really great. So it wasn't as if I was suffering to go there, and I was still working while I was there and everything. I was like, why would I charge him? He asked for a favor. He doesn't have a place to live. Why the fuck would I charge him rent?
Yeah, I mean, I super relate to that. I've never ever wanted to ask anybody for my, like, I've never wanted to get my stuff back. I would really love to live in an environment in which we never had to make, we could just be like, yeah, of course. Yeah.
We have a version of that where we take turns buying comedy show tickets that we won't accept money for. Whatever, small things. But it's totally the same thing. It's like, why do we have to have money? Like,
it's so stupid. Anyway,
if I have a resource, I'm going to let my apartment sit empty while I know people? That makes no sense to me. It is interesting, the hoarding of resources. I think that just comes down to the whole thesis of what you guys do, which is this is all built on hoarding and exploitation. And we've also been taught to fear each other in this way that I think is unfair. So many people, and this is like my own personal thing, with so many people will say, oh, that person is scary if they see someone who's homeless or poor or whatever. And I like to be like, well, what is scary? Like, what exactly are you scared of? That they're like walking a weird way, or that it's like this very intense ableism and also judgment of where other people are that puts a stank on them that makes people pull away in an instance where they should be moving towards it. And so we're all huge fans of people who are billionaires, even though they're killing us. But it doesn't, I mean, listen, I got into a lot of trouble because I said the Met Gala was stupid. And
what?
I know. And people
who got mad at you?
Who was mad at you?
It's literally a charity event. All these artist
God,
people.
Yeah, run by Jeff Bezos.
This is a charity event, and so the stylists shouldn't be, showing off their art, and they're not allowed to show off fashion. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're telling me it's a charity event when the richest man in the world could just pay for it.
Exactly.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I covered the Met Gala for years, and I went and to the red carpet for many years, and I give you my blessing to call it fucking stupid. So,
well, thank you so much, guys. Is there anything you want to leave people with, or anything you want to say that you hope people take away from your work?
Yeah, I would say definitely check out our podcast wherever you get your podcast. There's 5 episodes up right now, and we will be launching the final 7 of the season in a matter of 20 days. So, or whenever this podcast comes out, we'll just say June 25th.
Yeah. I like invited someone to a party, not realizing that like by the time the episode comes out, the party would have already happened.
Yeah. So anyway,
time
isn't real.
Time is a construct.
If you like this,
if you like podcasts, you will probably like our podcast.
Like our podcast as well. And we're so happy to meet a new friend. So it's really great to meet you, Gabe.
And talk to someone that like is talking about the same things that we have been sitting in this room for like a couple of years talking about.
It's the huge first move is telling one person, really.
Yeah.
And then opening that up to allowing people to love you and be your community.
Yeah.
And then throwing a brick through the window of a Bank of America.
I like that.
That comes later. But you have to put on the spreadsheet who's throwing the brick.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
All the friends have to be on the spreadsheet first.
Brick. Who has a brick?
Who has a brick and who hasn't been arrested yet?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And where can people find all of your work? Let's say like your Instagrams and stuff like that.
Deadheads
podcast. That's DEBT.
Debit heads.
No,
not debit. Debt Heads podcast. Yes, that's us on everything. We have a Substack. We have an Instagram. We have a TikTok. I'm Real Girl Project. Rachel hates Instagram, so
no social media for me.
You can find her stuff on my Instagram at Real Girl Project.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right.
Thanks, you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. This is a noted bisexual production. Edited by Allie Mims. Logo art by Dakota Becker. If you like the show, please consider subscribing to the Substack, 1000naturalshocks.substack.com. The Substack has episodes of this show ad-free and also videos and also my original writing. It would mean so much to me if you would subscribe, even as a free subscriber. But a paid subscriber really allows me to keep doing this work, and I can't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, love you. Bye.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.